Good morning, America, and welcome to the war, the InfoWars, for Memorial Day 2012. It's also the first day of the Bilderberg meeting. I have the Bilderbergmeetings.org website open right here. Home, governance, conferences, latest meetings, brief history. Oh, the hotel in Holland in 1954. Well, I could regurgitate this garbage like Ken Vogel, but I'm not going to do that. I won't waste your time, and I won't just pave the road. I'm going to dig a little deeper. The Bilderberg meeting is an affront to the Constitution and to we the people of the United States of America. Any one of our American citizens that attends this meeting, even Facebook goons, should all be arrested and fined. And I hope to see giant crowds of protesters out there. I hope to see the sheriff of Chantilly come and shut the meeting down. I hope to see elected officials and lawyers make their way into that conference and get some of those people in jail. We'll see if it happens. I happen to think that by inviting those Facebook goons to your Bilderberg meeting, you just made a big, huge mistake. You wanted to stay private and secret, and then you bring the biggest loudmouth goons on the planet to your party. Not a very smart move. These books that I have here by Ann Rule. A Rage to Kill. The Want Ad Killer. A Rose for Her Grave. Green River Running Red, the Green River Killer in Washington State. When I read this book, bodies were buried right across the street from my house where I was reading this book. So murder and killers are much closer than you think. Ann Rule has an incredible knack for talking to detectives, police officers, formulating her profiles and getting into the minds of killers. And that is the direction that I want to talk about this morning, is getting into the minds of these psychopathic killers. Batman had to do it, and DLAKE's doing it, and I know Alex Jones does it. And you want to know how I know? Look, I'm going to set up this clip. It's from the summer of 2001, when Alex Jones predicted the events of 9/11.
And I won't want you to believe Alex Jones. I want you to go get these news stories off my website. I want you to call these major newspapers. I want you to find out these statements were true by the White House about preparing for martial law. And I want you to let them know that if there is any terrorism, we know who to blame. The point is, if any terrorism comes, it's from this government. And if there was an outside threat like a bin Laden, who was a known CIA asset in the 80s, running the Mujahideen war, and whose family builds all the military bases over in Saudi Arabia right now, and sits on the board of Iridium Satellite, he's the boogeyman they need in this Orwellian phony system.
He suspected they were plotting and planning a false flag terrorist event. The Twin Towers were gigantic targets, and they were previous testing targets, testing grounds. He even knew or suspected that they would immediately blame their CIA asset Tim Osman, also known as Osama bin Laden. And those news reporters, they just started reading everything right off the wire. Talking points, marching orders. Even the BBC, they read their report a little too early now, didn't they? And Silverstein, he just wants to pull it. But we've heard all those stories. Let's focus on, how did Alex know that? Well, Alex's brain is amazing. Mine is turning on in a similar way. And anyone can have it. So don't think that he's some genius and you're not. Or that I'm any smarter than you are, because I'm not. Alright? I just click a lot of links and I do a lot of research. And to take a page from Alex, once you read their playbook, and once all these plots and plans sort of filter in, come together, it gives you a clearer picture of what the Bilderbergs and these world-dominating controllers gives you a clear picture of what their next move might be, because it's just like chess, but it's nothing like checkers. My summation is that over the course of the next week, the Bilderberg attendees will suggest that Obama is washed up and he's damaged goods. His eligibility and questions surrounding that eligibility are making him less and less a contender. And the Facebook goons are already claiming how they can steer the election with their fancy Facebook. I suspect, with all surrounding evidence that I have at my disposal, that one of the talking points, one of the points of discussion at this Bilderberg meeting is going to be the fake assassination of President Barack Obama. I suspect that it's the cleanest way that they can get rid of him, get their next puppet in there, and not have him suffer any disgrace or embarrassment. In fact, after this fake attempt, they will spin the entire event into another 10 or 20 years of myth and legend. And Facebook will be right there, dumping it onto your plate like a big heaping stinking pile of garbage that you're supposed to eat. And if you don't want to eat it, if you're like this, well, we'll just have to tie you down and feed it to you. And all the gates for their propaganda being used on American citizens, those gates are being opened wide. And all the internet controls to make sure that you believe whatever we tell you, all those controls are being put in place as well. All the shadow government and continuity of government, all those things are being put in place. And an assassination, that just makes all those things that much easier to do. I'm sure we can find a nice little island or underground base or a moon base where he can retire and live happily with his family, watch as much ESPN as he wants. Then we'll be able to slide Mitt Romney right in there. Well, let me touch on this last point before I wrap this up. Last week in Iowa, President Barack Obama is talking about cow pies, which is just a euphemism for shit. And how him and Mitt Romney are battling it out in Iowa, where Obama had a very sparse crowd, about 2,000, maybe a little over 2,000. Meanwhile, Ron Paul had 10,000. Okay? And meanwhile, Ron Paul really won Iowa. But Don King and the Bilderbergs, they're gonna lead you to believe that the two heavyweights, Barack and Mitt Romney, are the only two guys out there, the only two guys in the ring. It only matters about who wins between them. And since we own both of them, we can just tell whoever we want to take a fall, and then the other guy gets the belt. But if you media, Bilderbergers and goons and Facebook and all you other perverts think that we're just gonna keep watching your heavyweight fight and not switch from boxing to MMA and go watch some Ron Paul, then you're sadly mistaken. Go ask the big new Brzezinski. We're waking up en masse. And you guys, your plots and your plans and your schemes and your good, great, wonderful world government ideas are completely see-through. And I'm looking right through them. I'm calling you out. Go ahead and fake that assassination. I see it coming shortly after Obama's birthday in August, I believe, before the October surprise and before September, so it's not too closely related to 9/11 false flags. I suspect it'll go down in mid-August if I put myself into the minds of these criminals, similar to the way that Ann Rule would. Who knows? I've seen a lot of reports on YouTube where people are warning of false flags that don't happen. I don't use numerology. I don't look at the stars for these thoughts. Okay? I mean, if you want to know the truth, I think they come to me straight from God.